On June 28, 1959, police discovered a grisly scene at the Cook family home in Stettler, Alberta. They found Raymond Cook, 53, his wife, 37-year-old Daisy Cook, and their 5 children, Gerald, 9, Patrick William, 8, Christopher Fred, 7, Kathy, 5, and Linda May, 3, dead. The family had been massacred 3 days earlier. The adults had been shot with a double-barreled shotgun. The children had been bludgeoned to death with the rifle butt. The bodies were found in the grease pit of their garage. The victims were in their nightwear and blood was found on the mattresses, indicating that the massacre happened as the family was sleeping. On June 27th, Raymond Cook's son from his first marriage, Robert Raymond Cook, had been arrested in Stettler and charged with obtaining goods under false pretenses. Robert had traded the family's 1958 Chevrolet station wagon for a '59 Impala convertible. Inside the trunk, the police found birth certificates, insurance policies, Raymond's marriage certificate, and the report cards of the children. Robert also had a suitcase with 4 sets of children's pajamas, new bed sheets, and a photo album with pictures of his mother. When the officers asked Robert where his parents were, he repeatedly changed his story. At one point, he claimed his father gave him $4,100 and that the family moved to British Columbia. However, Raymond's best friend said he knew nothing of this plan. The earlier charges against Robert were dismissed. Officials now accused him of massacring his entire family. At the time, murder was a capital offense in Canada, so Robert was only charged with killing his father. Just after midnight on July 11, 1959, Robert escaped from Ponoka Mental Institution, where he was being detained for a psychiatric assessment. He had been denied permission to attend the funerals of his family. The escape sparked one of the biggest manhunts in Alberta history. Officials had 100 RCMP officers, police dogs, 50 soldiers from the local militia, and aircraft hunt relentlessly for Robert. Several days later, he was found hiding in a pig farm near Bashaw, Alberta. Robert claimed that he only escaped to visit the graves of his family. Robert maintained his innocence. In December 1959, he was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. He won a retrial on appeal, but was found guilty once more in June 1960. Under normal circumstances, Robert still wouldn't have been executed. By 1960, the vast majority of convicted murderers in Canada could expect a reprieve. Under Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, whose tenure lasted from 1957 to 1963, all convicted murderers who'd received a recommendation for mercy were reprieved. However, Robert hadn't received a recommendation for mercy. As uncommon as executions had become, they were still taking place. A mass murderer, especially someone who'd brutally killed multiple children, did not find much sympathy. Officials surveyed the locals on Robert's fate.
Most thought he was guilty and deserved to die. Clemency letters to the Solicitor General and Prime Minister went unanswered. On November 14th, Cook's lawyer received a telegram from the Governor General. Robert, 23, was executed by hanging at the Fort Saskatchewan Provincial Jail in Alberta. Just after midnight on November 15, 1960, the execution went forward without any complications. Robert was pronounced dead at 12:19 a.m. He was the last person to be executed in the province of Alberta. While on death row, he agreed to posthumously donate himself for medical study. His eyes went to the Edmonton Eye Bank. His body went to the University of Alberta Hospital. Robert's former lawyer, David McNaughton, is still alive. He gave a public talk about the case in 2019. McNaughton said the evidence against Robert was circumstantial. He recalled that the young man seemed genuinely horrified when he was told about the massacre. However, McNaughton conceded that Robert might have suppressed the memory. A retired teacher, Malcolm Fisher, said he's convinced of Robert's guilt, but believes he was mentally unstable and shouldn't have been hanged regardless. Fisher was 9 years old when the massacre happened, and has been fascinated about the case ever since. Months earlier, Robert was hit in the head with a lead pipe by a fellow inmate while serving time for breaking and entering and car theft. After this incident, Robert's behavior became more erratic and he was much more quick-tempered. Fisher said Robert, who had been in and out of prison for most of his life, was known to be a very good liar. When asked where his parents were, his story kept changing. He said, Robert's stories kept changing with what he thought the police knew. Nothing in his story when police check on it could be confirmed. He was a charmer and a conscienceless liar who changed his version of things to suit whatever new came up.